You wanna see the tutorial? Are you sure? Okay. As a newbie indie developer, I always thought you develop the game in chronological order, right? I develop things that happen at the beginning of the game first, and then everything that happens after I develop after, as it comes along, right? Well, unfortunately, that makes a little too much sense, okay? You ever play Kingdom Hearts 1? Notice how the cutscenes in the first two worlds are high quality, but after that they kinda suck a butt? You ever notice how Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance has a tutorial that's sort of thrown in there, doesn't match the rest of the game's energy? In Ocarina of Time, you ever notice how the Forest Temple is a bit eclectic compared to the other temples? That's because the earliest parts of a game are usually left at the end of a development cycle. The animators are more skilled, the tutorial is left to crunch time, or you can dedicate a huge amount of time to building the tutorial and disguising it as just part of the main game. Just delay it till it's good, or too late. You don't want to make the game's most important and dense teaching moment while game design decisions aren't yet set in stone, or when you aren't at your most experienced as a developer. Otherwise, you risk wasting your time. You're likely going to teach the player how to play a game that you don't end up developing. Let's say you want to make a rhythm-based text adventure, okay? Real high-concept stuff. Never thought possible. People can't even make sense of it. You make the tutorial, then you start developing the rest. Inevitably, some changes are going to have to be made. Plans never survive execution. It's now a rhythm-based platformer strategy game. Now the tutorial has to change to reflect the rest of that game. Instead, you could have saved development time by waiting until the rest of the game was mostly set in stone, then making the tutorial. So the beginning comes last, and that's exactly what I'm not going to do. Is it because I'm better than Square Enix or Konami? Yes. Listen, I need a closed beta to test. It's not going to have the mid-game in it. So let's get to making some tutorials. I'm going to teach the player how to play the game. Let's start with enemies. Here are the poor souls that the player will curb stomp, courtesy of Spriter's Resource. This is the attacking tutorial. Now, because the tutorial battle will only have one party member, we just need to make a solo battle. This is something I worked on in one of the previous devlogs, so this shouldn't be too... I thought I sorted out everything to do with solo battles. I've only added 6 videos worth of new battle features since then. For this specific tutorial, I need to use a move that the player will use for this battle only, but implementing it was a hassle. The game decided to fight me every step of the way. I think the prompts that show up for the minigame are self-explanatory, but it wouldn't hurt to have the brown-nosing Chancellor give some extra instruction only if the player misses both prompts. Oh, for those who are new here and why there's a brown-nosing Chancellor, the game is about an awful queen who gets thrown out and tries to get her kingdom back. I want this to be a theme of the tutorials, where the pain of being taught how to play the game will be eased or even made fun by having storytelling or even character-building moments. This way you don't feel like a teacher is just lecturing at you about the Puritan history of America, but instead you're actually there, laying on the ground, dying of dysentery. If you want to see these story moments, you're gonna have to get the demo when it's out. So the tutorial teaches you how to attack in a safe environment where enemies can't attack you back. No, not the old folks' home. What do you take me for? This next tutorial will be a bit different, as you can only mitigate damage. It takes place in this inviting cave. Originally, the tutorial for the defensive minigame had this little race of creatures that broke the fourth wall, which would have freaked out the player characters, but it would have, given the player themselves instructions on how to mitigate damage. But this just didn't fit in with the game all that much, so in keeping with the character building moments, remember, theme, I'm gonna have this tutorial be a bit story-flavored. Here's Miss Harrington. She was wrongfully imprisoned by Esmeralda, so she's gonna attack her. She would very much enjoy it if Esmeralda would cut down on her breathing. And I would like it if you could cut down on the algorithm being such... Can you like, comment, subscribe, and share, please? I'm tired. I'm so tired. Now let's get a mock-up sprite for the battle. Spriter's Resource, can always count on you. And there she is. So, at this part in the tutorial, you cannot attack. You can only defend. So sort of like the inverse of the previous tutorial. And that's all there is to it. Next tutorial will have to do with the overworld, as in, how does the player know that they can switch party members on the overworld? Before in the previous devlogs, I would always go into the main menu and change the formation, the list, the order, whatever you want to call it. But that's just too clumsy. So how am I going to solve this dilemma? HUD, bro. I'm just gonna have this HUD slide in, bro. That's it. Same with battles. You want to know how to switch characters in battles? HUD, bro. Look at that. Look at that HUD. As for items, a sudden ally will quickly give you the rundown. But what about the issue for battles and ranges I was talking about in an earlier video? For those who don't know, in an earlier video I implemented ranges, defenses, and counterattacking for enemies. My primary concern is that the player will not have enough information to gauge what effect will come of targeting certain enemies. If the player isn't super clear on who they can or cannot attack, or if their attack will be deflected, I'll have these prompts over the reticle. This means going into the targeting system I set up and fixing what isn't broken. Can you hear the excitement dripping from my voice? No? You sure? Silver lining? Stuff like this reminds me to make backups. Okay, here it goes. Just don't blow up the game. Uh-oh, it's breaking. It's breaking. Ooh-wee. That was something, but it's done. In the next video, what? You want to see it? It's nothing. It's not that you probably don't want to, it's nothing special. You probably don't, it's not impressive. Probably, are you sure? Okay, here it is. It works. Oh my god, it's so ugly, but it works. This is truly the closed beta of all time. Man, I still need a tutorial for the superpowers. The player doesn't get those until the first proper dungeon. Whoa! 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 Oh my god! Oh, whoa! Whoa!